Okay, hi everybody. I'm Derek from Replit, and I'm really excited to have you all here for this webinar. I'm a new addition to the Replit team. I was previously a computer science teacher in Oakland Unified School District in Oakland, California. I'm working on the new Teams product for education at Replit, and really excited to show you how this product is evolving to meet the needs, especially as we go into a spring where a lot of us are going to be teaching remotely. What I hope to show you today is some previews of features that are coming out in the next couple weeks, a general flow of how to use Teams right from the start, the best cases for integrating with Google Classroom, how students submit a project, how you can give them feedback on that project, and essentially some ideas of what our roadmap will look like for the spring. If there's any particular questions that you have as I'm demoing a product, or if you would like me to go back, please just interrupt me. It's completely fine. If you have any really intense questions, we're going to have a lot of question answer at the end. We'll hopefully try to answer every question, Patrick and myself. As people are entering, please introduce yourself in the comments, just so that we know that everyone's here. This is recorded, so don't feel like you have to take notes on everything, and we'll go ahead and give this to the attendee list. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to walk you through two different views, a view from the teacher and a view from the student. All right. Can you see my screen? Good. All right. So I've created here a brand new team for education. If you have not created a team for education first, click on this Teams tab, create a team, and you can either choose to check out or you could create a free team. If you need a trial membership, so if you want to try this product, there's two ways. You can either migrate from your classroom, which will automatically create a trial account, or you can go ahead and just email sales at. We'll create a trial team for you in order to try that out. But go ahead and click on team because we need to have a team created so you can explore. I already have a team that I've been using, so I'm going to go back and use my demo team here. It's a little bit contrived because I'm the only members of my team right now. But one of the first things you should probably do is give yourself a name and a description, just to personalize this experience. The header experience is going to change a little bit in the next coming months. It's a little bit plain right now, but you'll be able to do more with it. The first thing, as you're a teacher, I've created two assignments. We call our assignments projects in this product. And probably the first thing you'll want to do is invite your students. So this dialog here works very similarly to Google Docs. We don't currently have a limit on the number of users that you would invite for a team to education. What we're encouraging you to do right now is use a team as the idea of one class, as if you were using Google Classroom. And to sort of think of each team as an individual class rather than combining all of your classes into one team. Although the organization is completely up to you. We don't limit how you organize things. Again, we have sort of unlimited users. So there's two ways that you could start inviting students. If they already have a username or an email, you could just type them in. So for example, I have many accounts. I could go invite myself by email. I think I have a account from Oakland. There we go. So you can do that in that sort of pending request that's going to send them an email and ask them to join your team. You could also remove people here. If you, for example, have a co-teacher, you could promote them to an admin, and that would allow them to also participate as a co-teacher with you, which is a nice flexibility to have. If you're a K-12 teacher, I would suggest that you click on Do Not Collect Names and Emails. This is an extra privacy measure for you, for FERPA. And what it does is it presents students with a login that does not require an email address. So for example, I could copy this link. I'm going to create an incognito window. It's going to prompt the student for just a username and password. They can change this, but it generated one. I'm going to go ahead and just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. you can see that it brings them directly to the team. This is the fastest way to onboard your students onto this product and make sure that you're complying with all the privacy that you need. So I'm going to refresh this and you'll see that I have a new student in here. One of the benefits of inviting your students this way is that we can actually manually reset their password right here, as long as they're confirmed as being a privacy student. Again, the intent there is that we don't collect any personally identifiable information, such as a student ID, an email, first name, last name. I'm going to leave this student in here. If you need to do bulk uploads, we also have a CSV file bulk upload if you need to invite a very large class. I find that to be useful. It just completely depends on the arrangements at your school. Let's take a look at the layout on our Team for Education. Now we have two different sections here, and this confuses some people and they have some difficulty understanding the difference. As a teacher, you're probably going to be focused on creating projects. And a project is analogous to an assignment. So we're going to spend a lot of today's demonstration focusing on create a project. Now we also have a REPL, create just a team REPL. This would be REPLs, and a REPL would be just some code in any language. So you'd be presented with the same dialogue here. You have over 50 languages you could choose from. This would be a really great way to share example code. So if your unit has a particular example that you would like to share with the entire class, but doesn't have any submission to it, this is a great way to share those low-hanging fruit, easy access to your example code. So throughout your units, you can imagine organizing, for example, I could say, unit 2.2, and this could be, finding substrings. So if you have some crucial examples, not a very good speller. If you have some crucial examples, this is a really great way to just share those examples, because all students can access all team REPLs and fork them. They can create their own copies, but it's a great way to collaborate. Although most of the time you're going to want to stay inside of this projects module here. You can flip between a list and a grid. I think most teachers are going to want to stay inside of this list view. And right now I have created two really simple assignments, and I'm using Java to demonstrate today. Before I move on, do we have any questions that I want to ask about just looking at the dashboard for your team? Okay, so let's get in.
I have a quick question, actually.
Go ahead.
I was using Classroom for a while, and one of the features I really appreciated was when I made a correction on a student project, they seemed to get an actual email as opposed to just a notification badge.
Okay.
If they join with their emails, is that an option also in Teams for Education?
If they join with their emails, yes. We have an annotations feature. So I'll show you that just because you asked. So I have this first assignment, and I actually have submissions on that assignment, student. So I submitted here. I can click on this link right here, so you can see that just about 30 minutes ago, I submitted to my own assignment. I'm going to open that up in a new window. I think what you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong, is this annotations feature. So I could highlight a piece of code and say, maybe you should look at this. Is that what you're referring to, the annotations?
Yeah, it was either annotations, or I think I recall even making comments, line comments, that they got an email notification, and basically any change on their code.
If the flow that we're encouraging now for teachers is to use this annotation, kind of like Google Docs, is to highlight a block of code after a student has submitted. Frankly, you can see their work before they've submitted. As soon as they've started an assignment, you can jump into any student's assignment and start commenting on it. They're going to get these little boxes that allow them to read your feedback, and they can also respond to the feedback. So for example, here I am as a student. I'll go ahead and refresh here. And look at these comments. So if I have my teacher comments, it might not be working on this assignment. I'll come back and look at this later.
Okay, thank you.
Derek, can you quickly show the revision history as well?
Sure.
While we're here.
So this education pane here is a new feature, And something that teachers have been asking for is an ability to look at the history of an individual. Well, that button didn't work. We have an additional way to get to it right here. So this is actually your revision history. So you could see throughout an entire day how the file has progressed minute by minute, and allows you to see each individual change. So when we're working in Teams for Education, if you're trying to look at plagiarism, for example, or to see how long it took a student, in this main.java, you can actually see a minute-by-minute change of the exact changes that happened. And you can then select all the files and expand on there. That's another way of getting a good sense of either maybe there was plagiarism or where students are getting stuck when trying to work on your assignments. So I'm going to back up here. And I'm going to go ahead and just take you into an existing assignment. This is my Hello World assignment. And I've just created probably the most basic assignment that you would see inside of a Java team where you're focused on a Java-oriented class. So if you click run, that's going to behave how you would normally expect. In this case, you're going to get no output because I haven't actually done anything. So the prompt here for the student is to print out Hello World. A great feature here is our new input-output tests so that you can actually run tests. So if we click on this run test feature, you're actually going to be able to analyze the input and output. If we click on these results, it's going to say that the expected output was supposed to be Hello World, but it didn't. And this is a very familiar feature to people from Classroom that we're really going to emphasize a lot in the coming months. So if I look at this edit, we can see that here is my test name. I don't have any input on this test, and I expect Hello World. So from the student's perspective, I think I actually have to make sure that, oh, I'm in the wrong student. Let me join the other student.
Real quick, while you're trying to find that, yeah. It said input none. Was that like a keyword for that, or like what? I typically just would leave that blank, where you had the none for the input.
This is actually just a bug. So because this program doesn't take any input, we're getting this rolled out this week, but you have to type something into this field right now. That'll be fixed in the next week. You could, since this isn't using a scanner, I'll show you an example in a minute that uses Java Scanner.
Okay.
You just have to put something into that dialog. So by default, the tests are going to fail so that we can then give this to students to work on. So now I'm actually in a student account. And so what I can see from this student account is I have some questions from my teacher here. I can either dismiss these by deleting them, or I can respond to them. Yeah, we'll see how students respond. What we're seeing with teachers who've started to play with annotations is that it allows teachers and students to have a really meaningful dialogue about code style, for example. Teachers are commenting, please fix up this code style. Then students can come up here and resubmit. Every time they resubmit, it's a very lightweight experience. They can keep clicking resubmit as many times as they need to encourage students to go through that really meaningful revision cycle. So right now, the usual flow for a student is click run tests and just watch the tests fail. So the tests are failing, and obviously fixing this is pretty trivial. So we'll go ahead and run our Hello World statement here. Just going to test it to make sure that that actually did what I thought it does. And then I'll rerun the tests. And sometimes you have to refresh this because this is still beta. So let's see. I'm not going to linger on this because this is actually in beta, which will be rolled out pretty soon. We have a couple error situations that we're working through, but the emphasis here is that this product is going to be ready to use when we submit it. I do want to look at this resubmit flow. So you as the teacher, when you're inside of your team, can click on this submissions view, and you can see a couple helpful things. You can look at whether or not a student has submitted. So in this case, I just have one, But we can look at students who have just started the project, students who have not started the project. So in this particular case, I just created that privacy user, this sort of anonymous user, and they have neither started the project nor submitted the project, and I haven't viewed it. So these are particularly helpful ways to sort of filter out the number of projects. And this is just something that we launched this week. And that's the basic flow right now. We have the ability to then share this. So let's say that we have students in Classroom. We can click on this copy link that'll then give students a link to start the project. So from there, I could come into Google Classroom, create an assignment. And then I would just use the link button, use the link button to share that with your classroom. And then that would ask them to log in and they would get right into it. I really like this feature for teachers, especially if you're using Google Classroom. This would work equally well in Canvas or Schoology to just use this link. If you click on this as a teacher, it takes you straight to the submissions page so you can see who has been submitting it. It's really not relevant to teachers to start a project or clone a project. So if it recognizes that you are a teacher, it'll take you to your dashboard to see what the progression is for students. Another thing to really take into account here is if I click on this as a teacher, I'm going to enter a live editing session with the student. So you can see up here in the right-hand corner that my student is currently logged in, and we actually could both collaborate on this. So if you are on Zoom with students, perhaps you have them in breakout rooms working in small groups. As soon as students start the project, you can go into this filter that says started, and you can actually open up their submissions and start looking at their code change in real time, just like a Google Doc. And we feel like that's a particularly effective way for getting some feedback in real time with students who are struggling to complete classwork. So it depends on how you plan on deploying this product with students in real time.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding the projects, and I'm still trying to learn it with my students. So I had a student share her screen, and she went into one of my projects the day before, and when she went back while she was sharing the screen, she told me that she couldn't get back in. I kept saying, just click on it. She said, I can't get back in. So I started wondering, once they get in, does it flag them as finished or submitted, which could have been the reason why she could not get back, because she never hit the submit button. She just could not open the project back up. And I also had a second question. See right there on your screen where it says view submissions, 2 of 2 started. Can you see who started, or you can only see when they are? So right there, if you click right there, so it only shows you who has. Oh, okay, I see what you just did. So yeah, so do you know what could have happened why she was not able to get back into that project?
I'll go ahead and show you from the student view. I have a pretty good understanding of what it might have been. There's this continue working button. What we realized sometime yesterday was that this isn't equally, like these are both equivalent buttons. This button right here, the title button, wasn't working yesterday. It wasn't working for one day, and that probably was it. Did it happen yesterday?
No, it was maybe 2 weeks ago. I stopped using it. We only use the new Repel now because my project, I just hadn't had time to sit down and really learn the new projects. So stop using it. We're only coding from just using new Repel. So I had new projects in like 2 weeks. Okay.
If you send me the username for the student, we can go ahead and do an investigation. If you put it inside the chat right now, we'll go ahead and record that inside of Google Classroom, inside of Google Hangouts, and then we'll go ahead and open an investigation for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what we can do is we can look at some more advanced situations where we're looking at auto grading. Here I've created a very, very simple program where we're using a scanner in order to do input-output testing. So here I'm trying to calculate the area of a triangle, and we can see that I'm using my scanner object here in order to parse and read input from standard in. So if I run this, it's going to ask me some pretty trivial questions about entering input. So I'll enter 3 as my base for this triangle, 4 as my height. And so my answer, my area of the triangle is 6. It's pretty simple, probably something you'd see in the first unit of a Java class. So then within our input-output tests, what I'm actually able to configure here is 3 and 4 as those inputs, the same that I went in here. Now I was able to do that just by using a new line inside of my input and then getting my output to match. What we anticipate is that as you create entire test suites, you can create many suites. You can start to create more and more sophisticated tests by actually changing the input. Because, for example, students could, if they were particularly clever, could say, you know, system out println 6.0, and then that would actually produce a passing test case. So if you wanted to make these tests more dynamic, if you use a scanner inside of your Java programs, you can then change the input and create some dynamic output. If you want to get very sophisticated, you can actually turn on regular expression matching. So you can actually write a regular expression that then matches against really specific output that you were expecting. Matching is going to just look for this somewhere inside of the input, and it's the most simple case for using the product. Are there any questions about sort of how we're setting up these projects and running it? You have the full ability to configure all of the input. Right now, I just have pretty simple one-file projects. You could also integrate this with GitHub Classroom if you go ahead and sync this with GitHub. Some teachers are using that with a lot of success if you want to teach students how to check in their code. Beyond that, the product itself is really emphasizing this project view because it has a lot more privacy. One thing that we're seeing a lot of teachers start to figure out is when you create a project, let's go ahead and do another Java project. Let's do a group project. When we turn on these group project features, you're actually able to create groups for students, and it manages all the permissions for you. So it actually creates copies of this project. So we'll go ahead and publish this. So when we publish this, it's going to ask you to create submission groups. These are groups for the students to be in. I'm just going to click just assign them. And so now these 2 users that I've created in here are inside of a submission group. So when that happens, students are actually able to start live coding sessions together. They're both going to get emails or notifications that a new project has been assigned to them. So I'll come back to my student, and they'll see that this group project has been assigned to them. And then they'll see that, hey, I am now in a group with this other user. And I actually already have a submission created and ready to go for me. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and then that will open up a live coding session between the users so that they jointly share, just like a Google Doc, they jointly share the access to this code, and then either of them can click submit and submit the project. Any questions about groups? This is a brand new feature. This only exists within the Teams product, is having these group submissions. We have a lot of multiplayer features inside the regular product, but we're really trying to emphasize teachers to use this in order to collaborate better. Go ahead and check chat.
So I just wanted to say that that's a really awesome feature that Google Classroom needs, because there's no way to do good assignments of group projects in Classroom. Like usually what happens is you assign to everybody and then half of it turn it in, and then other people private comment and say, I'm on so-and-so submission, right? But from like, basically this is a feature that Classroom needs. So it's really cool that you have it.
Thank you. I think that one thing that we hope to really do is Google Docs has a incredible revisions feature. I think we would really like revisions to be broken down by students. Right now, revisions just sort of show you how the project has evolved. There's no changes on this project, but we would like to say, you know, how much has every student contributed? We're trying to emphasize these annotations because the more that we as teachers give effective feedback to students, the better that they're going to learn and start to grasp some of the more nuanced parts of programming. I have a very good teacher friend who's using this as a part of a structured routine in her classroom where assignments are created every Thursday, every Monday she leaves comments, and then by the following Thursday, they have to have resolved all of her comments in order to get a sufficient grade. So they don't just have to have passing code, they actually have to have gone through a revision process with the teacher. It's quite a bit of work, but if you break it up into group projects where instead of having 40 different projects to grade, you have 20 projects or 15 projects because they're in groups, it actually can be a really effective use of your time to jump into every project, leave a couple comments, and then actually go through the process of grading in that particular way. Go ahead and jump back here. As far as billing, let's go ahead and jump into the billing features. When you go into create a team here, we're actually really encouraging teachers to go into this bill annually. And Patrick, I'm going to let you jump in here because I know that we're running a promotion so that schools can have an unlimited number of teams. And so if you're working with colleagues, your actual price per classroom would be significantly lower than this. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so that Patrick can discuss that.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks, everybody. And I've got just a couple questions too from the chat I've been trying to answer. So I'll just answer those really quickly before I get into pricing. So Rebecca was asking about duplicating teams from year to year in the future. And for those of you who have not been kind of seeing all the message in the chat, we're working on some copying functionality to let you copy projects, repls, and entire teams, which will be particularly relevant if you have an unlimited team subscription, which I'll talk about in just a second. So if you are moving from the fall semester to the spring semester, you're teaching the same class, the same material with a new group of students, you can copy that over. That should be ready this month. We're trying to get it ready before you guys start again in January. Question about filter for viewing projects not viewed, so we can see ones we need to check. Yeah, great feedback. We'll make sure to take a note on that. Yes, you can be working on multiple files in REPL at the same time. And you can do unit tests in Replit now too. Right now, you do need to write the unit tests yourself. I think that's something in the future we'd like to have potentially a GUI wrapper around there. No, it's not currently on the short-term roadmap, but you can easily write unit tests in Replit, and our auto graders, which we can share some links for, will be kind of based around functions, methods, and unit testing. Yeah, if you're on an unlimited plan, you'll have access to your projects from year to year. You can, and we're working on things to let you copy teams between accounts as well. I know folks are kind of collaborating on curriculum, or you may get curriculum from an outside provider or your school or district. So we want to make it really easy for you all to kind of collaborate and share best practices with one another. So I think with that, I'll kind of get into pricing a little bit. So there's a couple options. First, if you're using Classroom and you've not started using Teams yet, you are welcome to migrate your Classroom over to a team. When you migrate your Classroom to a team, and the link I pasted in here, I'll just paste it again in the chat in case anybody missed it. You'll have a team for free for 4 months. If you've already moved a team over, because we've just now released input-output testing, you can migrate it again. So if you want to test things out, that's the best thing to do. As Derek mentioned as well, we're happy to give free trials also. So just email us at sales@replit if you'd like a free trial. And if it does seem like it's a fit, if you've tried your Classroom, if you've moved things over, if you're liking it and other teachers at your school would like to give it a try, we've got a couple paid options. The first is $35 per month per class for a single team, or you can do $350 per year. So we'll basically not charge you guys for the summer months. And if that's working really well and you want to have multiple teachers, we just make it really easy. You can get, for $1,000 a year, an unlimited number of teams. So that's as many students as you have in your school, as many teachers, as many classes as you have. You don't have to think about it. If you're moving from one semester to the next, you can keep those old classrooms, and we won't impose any limits. Something to mention too, if you're a K-12 school, or if you're anybody kind of primarily under 18 students, then we can give you a 25% off discount on that amount, both off of the $350 per year for a single team, as well as the $1,000. That'd be $750 a year for the entire school to use Replit. One other thing to mention on pricing, we are working on making invoicing and purchase order flow built into the product. But in the meantime, just email sales@Replit if you need to pay with a purchase order, and we can handle all of that for you. We're also reviewing and signing school-specific privacy policies and agreements. I know there's been some questions from some of the schools that we're working with regarding like privacy training and policies and things like that. And we've been working very hard internally this fall to make sure that like all of our internal data security, like privacy practices and training and everything is all up to speed. So yeah, whatever kind of needs to happen, we're happy to like make it an easy and painless and quick process for you guys to get up and using Replit, and just have your administration just reach out to us at sales@Replit and can help out. And I see there's a couple questions that were coming in. So let me see if I can answer some of these. What about non-unlimited accounts? So if you have a non-unlimited team, if you do sign up for an unlimited account, we can move those teams over for you. If you don't choose to pay after the 4 free months expire, you'll still have read-only access. You just won't be able to keep doing new things in the teams. Okay. Tanaz, what was your question? Maybe if you can paste in the chat. When was what specifically going to be available? Transferring existing unit tests to new Replit. Yes. So with the new migration tool, your unit test will not migrate over, I believe, Derek. I think it's just the input-output tests.
Input-output tests.
Yeah, but you can export all of that to a file. So on that page I linked, the Replit/classroom-migration, there's an option to export everything for your classroom. So you won't lose all of that hard work that you guys have done over the years. NFPs, I don't know what that stands for, apologies. If you can paste that in the chat, let me know. That was Ali. Okay. Unlimited plan be for one teacher. The unlimited plan will be for as many teachers in your school as you need. And code with me, I'm not sure if you're an organization, that could be for all of the teachers in your organization. We have groups of like 6 students each. Yep. Same. Okay. You're welcome to have, I'd say if it's the same subject matter, it's best to have them in the same team. Really the only concern is just like as you're posting new assignments, it'll notify everybody in the team that a new assignment has been posted and things like that. And the students will be able to see which other students are in the team. You pay and it expires at the end of June. Yeah, you can restart in September as well. And some of these like kind of one-off situations, like we're just going to be really flexible as we're continuing to improve things in the product. So just if you run into any trouble, just email sales@Replit. You're going to end up talking to me or Obeda or Brittany. We're all nice and friendly, and we will we'll help you guys deal with whatever scenarios come up. Access the old team information. Yeah, if you're not paying, it'll be read only, but we can help you reactivate if you need to, if you do pay again in the future. Yeah, copying teams across accounts. Yep, that'll be covered in the copying tool when we release that, targeting this month. Yes, K-12 pricing, it's 25% off for an unlimited plan for a school. So that'd be $750 per year for the entire school. Yes, the core Replit product will still be free. I think this is really important to note. You can code online in the browser with no setup for free forever. You can do multiplayer. Annotations are coming very soon for the main product as well. And we'll host your projects as well. If you host something on the free version, we'll take it down periodically to like deal with resources. But you can create websites, you can create apps, you can do little Python projects or Java projects. The catch is that for a free account, everything will be public. And you won't have access to all of that great like assignment creation and submission workflow that Derek walked you through, and the grading. the auto grading and things like that. That's all specific for the paid product. And yes, you can do multiplayer. You can do the tandem sharing in the free product. Discount, does it apply for nonprofits? I'd say like if the nonprofits are targeting children, then yeah, we can extend the discount for you. What type of support is offered within the account teacher? We don't have any specific support right now. The team is very small. We're just about 16 people full-time. Email contact@Replit. You can email me or Derek. Derek, sorry if I'm throwing you out there.
We'll definitely help you. We'll definitely
we will help you. There's a Replit Facebook group as well. And we check this periodically. Let me just paste a link here as well. Replit for CS education. There's a lot of places to go and get help. We're real people. We want to help you. We want to make sure this is working well. Cool, but we don't have like phone support or anything like that at this time. We may in the future. How does it work if you're in Australia? Yeah, the product works in Australia. The product works in any country around the world. How two teachers share the same teams? How would you separate student submissions? Yeah, if there's two teachers sharing a team, it might be easier to have an unlimited account and have each teacher have a separate team unless they're co-teaching the same subject, or it's like a teacher and a teaching assistant. District is like on okay, July 1st. Yeah, we can definitely do prorating. If you email sales@Replit, Hank, we'll help you with prorating to line up to your school's fiscal year, and that applies to anybody else as well. Free trials for people who move from education to teams expire 4 months after you migrate is when things will expire. If you need a couple, like if you need an extra month or something like that, just email me, email sales@Replit, we can help you out. Fixes for school firewalls causing issues with Replit. I don't know about that specifically. I know this has come up on some one-off bases. So just, yeah, if there's any issues with firewall, I know we've worked with a couple of schools to get it resolved. So just reach out to us and we can help out. Yeah, we have the Facebook group in here. Okay, can you host a whole website that a student has created for a final project? Yes, you can. And it can be private. Or the code can be private even if the website itself is publicly visible. Okay, and yes, you can share that out with the public or via link. If you really want to, the students can even get their own domain name. They can host their website or their project on their own domain if they like to. Sweet. Okay. All right, on classroom auto grading, we're working really hard on auto grading as well. The latest we've got is, and I'm just going to paste a link to our docs in here as well. Here is the latest. So we've got a website called replegrader.com for Python projects that you can easily submit your code to. The process for Java auto grading is a little bit more involved. Basically, we'll have you set up a REPL to grade students' work, and then the students will submit their work to that grader. But we're working on something that's a little bit easier as well. So we're definitely working hard to get auto grading kind of built out and working well for everybody. Okay. Yeah, there's replegrader.com. It's working for Python now, and we want to have a version of this to support Java as well very soon. Input-output testing, we're just testing things that get written to standard out. But yeah, you can write unit tests as well, and happy to show you that. I think we've got some examples too. Derek, can you maybe take the question about the student password reset?
Sure. For student password reset, I'll go ahead and just share my screen to elaborate on this. To respect your privacy of your students, we're sort of barred from some kinds of password resets and not barred from others. So if we take a look at your team, notice that one of my students, I do not have a lock next to it that says change password, and one of them I do. If you turn on do not collect names in emails and then use this share link, you'll actually be able to reset student passwords. So in this particular case, I can just go ahead and put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've just reset the student's password. However, this student has joined on their own, presumably with an account that existed before they joined your class. So this sort of enters the gray area that you have with Google Docs, where if you invite a student to join your to join a folder on Google Drive, you wouldn't, just by sharing that folder with the student, automatically have access to reset their password. That wouldn't make sense, because it would sort of violate their privacy, because they might want to use this as their own personal account. So I would suggest, as a K-12 teacher, to please turn on this privacy feature, copy this link, and share it with Google Classroom to create their accounts. Then every student will have a temporary account that'll exist just for this team. It'll allow them to be managed by you. So it's not necessarily obvious from here, and that's why we're starting to train people on how to, properly respect FERPA privacy. Did that adequately answer your question about resetting passwords?
Yes, it did. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to go back and ask about, there was one about lists. So Anna asked about input-output lists. The goal to making really good tests is to just print out the items that are in the list. So you could just use a for loop and print out every item that's in a list. And so then your output can have as many lines in it as you'd like. So if the output that you say is the correct output matches what the program prints in order, then you can assume that the list is constructed correctly. If you'd like me to give you an example, I can create an example REPL and email it to you. So Anna, regarding input-output testing for lists, if you'd like me to email you an example, just let me know in chat and I'll email you back an example. So someone asked about Bootstrap. I wasn't sure if you're talking about the CSS or Bootstrap Algebra. Bootstrap Algebra, I think, uses Pirate.
Right, no, that was for CSS, and Patrick did send me a link to one that looks like it's working. And I would just say that that would be really cool. You guys have a really nice curriculum as well. That would be like a cool thing to add for curriculum. Would be like how to use it with frameworks.
Yes, we have some templates built in right now, so students can fork templates. I think that we're starting to add a lot more content on the platform. So hopefully in the next coming months, you're going to see a ton of platform content, so that we're saying, here's how you use React, here's how you use these different CSS frameworks. So thank you for that. And we're going to need to find new ways of promoting that. And so as we start to put new refreshes on the site, hopefully, you can give us feedback on how we can promote those things to teachers. We do have curriculum content available on our doc site. Patrick, can you paste the link to that into chat?
For the tutorials?
Tutorials and curriculum.
Absolutely. Cool.
So back to Sarah, your question, we are creating and curating content. We're having a hard time sharing it. So hopefully in the app, we're going to have better ways of talking to teachers of, please try this content. It's going to be fun. We're working on ways of making that more discoverable.
Great, thank you so much.
There was a question too about aligning contracts to your particular academic year. Yes, we can do that. Just email us at sales@Replit for anybody that needs special timing for your contracts. If you already have a team in place and you want to, I would say it depends on your school. It depends on your privacy policies if you need to not have student names or emails in Replit. But if you do need to, and you do need help kind of thinking through that, just reach out and we can help you think through that if you've already kind of set things up. Yeah, once again, I totally recommend connecting with your school on what you're able to share with us. If, as has been mentioned, students won't get email notifications and things like that if we're not storing their data. But we wanted to give schools with like very strict privacy requirements an option to collect essentially no student information and still be able to use Replit.
Hank has a very specific question about emulators. What I would say is, because you're actually running a full virtual machine container for every REPL. So it's actually very sophisticated architecture. If you're able to figure out how to boot an emulator using a Python package, it'll probably work. So if there's a specific platform you're trying to run, so for example, we had some people who are using C++ projects to run x86 assembly. So what they're really just doing is taking the compile step one step further and changing the make files. So if you have a really specific example you want done on the platform, if you email us, we'll figure out a way to get it to run. We could get almost anything to run on here. Regarding specific virtualization like QEMU, I don't know if that's particularly possible. There's just some privacy issues. Excuse me, there's some security issues of running that within our containers, and they're also very resource intensive. So let us know if there's a particular thing you'd like us to try, and we'll get back to you. David had a question about billing. Did you see that, Patrick, from Australia? Oh, you're muted. Patrick, you're still muted.
He responded in the chat.
I was just going on this beautiful monologue right there. As I mentioned, yeah, sales at Replit for any special billing timing considerations, we can help you out. I think the latest question was about the REPL history feature. So Derek, if you maybe pull that up and show it again. And just as I was kind of mentioning in the chat earlier, we're hoping at some point to build a kind of timeline view where you can like scroll through the code base over time, and you can see at any point along the way what the whole code base looked like. So very easy to kind of like go through. And I know there were some questions too about seeing which student in a group project committed a particular bit of code. So right now we just show the diffs. So we just show the changes, additions, or subtractions from the code. But we do track which user has made the change. So we just don't show that in the UI right now. So that's definitely on the roadmap.
So here's a list of submissions. I only have one student who's submitted. So I'll open up this submission. And here's a submission, and I can click on this. This actually exists on every REPL right now. It's just not a very discovered feature. People don't tend to click on that particular button. And then we can actually expand every part of the day and see the changes. So you can see that it even has like sub-minute in this particular case. So I went from print line without the entire invocation using the parentheses, and then I actually was able to complete it here. So we do keep all of this historical records here and the timestamps on them, again, with the users. So what we're missing right now is who actually contributed it. And just like Patrick said, we're not losing that data. We just haven't found a helpful way to share that. This does exist on every REPL. So if you're using the free product or using the Teams product, if a student shares their REPL with you, you can then go look at their history. Only if they share it with you, and that's from the free product. From within REPL Teams, you automatically, because you are an owner of their project, you would be able to jump in at any time. So even if a student hasn't submitted yet, so let's see if I can have a case like that that's useful. So I have a student here who started. So maybe I'm curious, like, okay, well, this student has started at this date. They haven't made a lot of progress, and I'm curious what's going on. I can actually just jump into their submission before they've even clicked the submit button. And I could go back and look at their history. And then I look here and see, oh, you know, all they have done is click the start button. They didn't get anywhere in the project. And so this is maybe an effort thing. They haven't put in the requisite effort to make any progress. This isn't a conceptual issue. They're not having any processing issues with this particular assignment. They just haven't put in the time yet to understand this. This pane here is also going to change a lot in the coming weeks. We have some really exciting ideas so that you can get a lot more analysis out of how hard students are trying. And I'm going to hold back on just all the details of what that pane is going to hold until we actually ship that feature. You're welcome. We are changing README files. So Beth, great question about README files. We're currently prototyping different ways of showing README files so that there can be a split pane so that students can read the directions while coding. We're trying to figure out where that's going to go. And so sometime in the next month, we're going to have something for you with README files. It's just, we're trying to polish the product. So anytime that you have any polish questions, let me get the link to our feedback. We have a feedback form. Just leave us feedback because we're paying attention and shipping as many features as possible. So again, features like that, just leave us feedback. I'm going to paste the form in here. So that's where you should leave feedback for this product. Hopefully we're going to get split pane up pretty soon so that you can read the directions.
And Beth, you had a question about showing images in your README files or your instructions files. So this is getting a little bit technical in terms of like how the REPLs actually work, but we only actually host image files to the internet in HTML, CSS REPLs. So if you have an image in, like, say, a Java REPL or a Python REPL, you can still link to it from your README file, from your Markdown file. But because we're not hosting that image, it won't embed directly in the Markdown file. So what we've kind of done internally when we've needed to do this is maybe if you have another REPL with your images, you can host those. We'll host all of your images, just add them to that HTML, CSS REPL, and then you can grab the URL for the specific image, and you can put that in the README file of any REPL that you need to, and it'll automatically fill and expand in the preview view for that REPL. Does that make sense? Hopefully this will be easier in the future. Question about sound. What was the question specifically? Oh, like audio files? I imagine it's
no.
Sure.
For audio files, they won't be hosted unless they're in an HTML REPL. As far as like if you're working on Pi games, you're creating a game, you can put all of the sound files into the project and open them and do all of your standard input-output manipulations without any issues because it's a standard file. I think that we just have a particular bug where projects that aren't HTML, CSS just don't get web-hosted images. It's a very specific niche problem.
And then Sarah, yes, like you can have a whole folder of images stored on a REPL, and then those will all those images will have their own URL as well. Yeah, and you should be able to have downloaded fonts, JavaScript files, JSON files, yeah, whatever you need in an HTML, CSS, or a Node REPL. And Ryan, yeah, I think when I was in 7th grade and learning to program for the first time forever ago, the first thing I was doing was just making the computer beep and go through different frequencies. So I totally get it.
So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to expect in 2021. I think that you've asked some fantastic questions, and we really do take all of your feedback very seriously. We're trying to increase our velocity as a team to start shipping more features to help. We're going to have team-to-team sharing. So for example, if you create a team that just holds your curriculum, that's something that we're going to start encouraging teachers to do in 2021 is create curriculum classrooms that don't have any students in them. And then you can copy your curriculum out to the classrooms that are populated. That also allows you to do exciting things like share your curriculum with your peers, like a Google Drive folder, or you could share your curriculum and sell it on Teachers Pay Teachers. You're going to be able to control who is able to access your content. So you'll be able to create links that are unique to share. And that's really exciting. And we hope to have that either at the beginning of January or the end of this month, so that you have that really dynamic way of sharing your content like you did in Classroom. We hope to have a full ability to have input-output testing that's just dead simple. A couple of things I showed you had a lot of rough edges. We want to take that beta sticker off and make sure that you have a very stable way. What's nice about those input-output tests is if you are coming from Classroom, it'll copy over and should just work. You shouldn't have any issues adopting that. Hopefully the RepleGrader website, which is a project that we're doing in collaboration with a partner, will allow you to have full unit testing as well in Java and Python. So that's going to become more robust in 2021. We're going to revamp the entire user interface is going to get revamped in 2021, at least as far as the team's perspective. So you're going to see a lot of new paint. We're going to be creating collections or playlists. So if you want to create things like units inside of teams, we don't yet have a concept as a unit. You just have a whole bunch of projects. So you'll be getting in early 2021 a way of organizing content and then also taking that content and sharing it with other classes in the way that you would either a YouTube playlist or just a unit in something like Schoology. Those are the things that are in the immediate backlog, but other things that will really interest you is just growing the platform and making it more stable, providing hosting for every student. So I think that some of the teachers who are enjoying this product the most are teaching web development. Because our Python web development and our JavaScript web development is so robust right now, when every student has a permanently hosted website, it's a really powerful thing to have for students who are doing things like capstone projects where they want a durable product that can live on the internet forever. And so we're trying to find more ways of making your project-based learning a lot more engaging rather than just having really trivial assignments on Replit, something that engages students a lot deeper. Hi, Tom. How you doing, bud? Muted.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, are you in Minnesota?
I am. Yep.
I bet it's cold, huh?
Yeah, it's not too bad actually. It's been for Minnesota, it's been good.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Anyway, please, please email us liberally. We're really looking forward to making some pretty big advancements in the product this year. Chris, you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, and Hank asked it again. Y'all said you could also use the links and stuff in Canvas, but Hank's asking about integration with Canvas, and I was asking something earlier about adding like points to tests. Like, let's say I have 4 tests on one of my code, and I want to make each one of those tests 25%. If they pass 3, fail 1, they say I'm done anyway. I can see that they have like a 75 kind of thing. And then can you integrate it with Canvas so it integrates with your gradebook? I don't know if that's exactly what Hank was meaning, but that's also what I was wanting to know.
So there's 2 things I heard. One is giving tests a point value. Was that right?
Yes.
And then
the other one was if they assign point values, is there any way to integrate that with the grading system inside of Canvas so I can see their grades inside of Canvas?
We haven't committed to, so that's LTI, and that's sort of like the magic of integrating with any LMS, whether it's Schoology, Google Classroom, or Canvas. If you really want LTI, go comment on the Canny that I posted so that we can prioritize the feature. Right now, there's a lot of things balanced. The more people who say LTI, the more likely it is that that'll happen. That's all I'm going to say about LTI because it's an enormous amount of work to integrate with Canvas. But if you can be specific about the things you need, we can maybe prioritize that in 2021. Anything else? Tom, you got a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
So, and I got in here late, but first of all, congrats working with Replit. That's kind of interesting.
Thank you.
And your curriculum, back in the day was with P5JS and all that stuff that you had was really, really good too. So, sorry to see you go on that. But my question on Replit is, they were talking about like eliminating the free teams. sometime in January. You probably already answered this, but is that still the case, or are they going to allow us to use it for the rest of the year and then, have the paid team starting up in 2021, 2022?
Hey, Tom. Yeah, this is Patrick. I'll take that.
Patrick,
yeah. So we know this is a tough year. We know things are changing, and for a lot of schools, like those budget approval windows may have already closed. So if you're on a free team now, and you need quote financial aid, or you need some help, just have somebody from your accounting team or one of your career technical education coordinators. Yep. This is why we need Derek on the team. And just have somebody reach out to us, and we can help you out through the rest of this academic year. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's January. Sometime January. I thought
January is when classroom ends and when a lot of the free teams will start to expire. If you need extra time, though, just have somebody from your school reach out to us, and we can see if we can make something work to cover you guys this year. Yeah.
Okay. Like the principal or something. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think to elaborate on that, we don't want to turn anybody off mid-year. I think that what we're seeing is that the classroom product needs a lot of work to maintain, and so we want to move people onto a product that we intend to maintain long term. We don't tend on shutting anybody down. When you click migrate, you're already given 4 free months on the new product. So if you haven't clicked the migrate button, you can go ahead and do it again today, and you'll be given an extra 4 months on top of that. But if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have budget until next fall, email us, connect us with your CTE coordinator, because that's the easiest way to make those connections and get that figured out for your district, is either career technical education, or if you have a math or science coordinator in your district, it's the easiest way to get it fixed for your district.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you click it after Christmas? Yes, it's not going away. The migrate button isn't going away. It'll be up after classroom shuts down. We're still going to have migrations. You're not going to lose data. Tim, are you talking about a specific project, or are you talking about all of the things in Classroom you want in a zip file? Project by project, you should be able to export. If students are inside of the IDE, there is an export to zip file, and they should be able to download their project as a zip. If it's not working, email me and I'll figure it out. Yeah, Melissa, if you need to restart your 4 months, just email sales at so we can reset your account. Chris, I'm not really sure what your question is about losing their work. The product is going to be end of life, so you want students to get their work.
So we've been working in Classroom, and they've done like Unit 2, Unit 1, things like that. The code that they've already submitted in the past, when I migrate it over, will they lose their submissions from that work, or no?
So we're not migrating over the student submissions in particular. We'll migrate over the assignments and the tests, and we're not migrating the students. But there is an option. Also, I posted in the link where students can export all of their work too, so that they can have copies of that for if they want to hold on to it or anything like that. And that's in the chat too.
Yeah, I think that there are some privacy issues with exporting students from Classroom. Teams is a more private and adheres to all of the COPA and FERPA regulations. So we don't want to be copying in data that students aren't actually giving consent for us to copy into the new product. And we don't plan on deleting. We don't plan on deleting Classroom anytime soon. It's just going to go to read only. So students shouldn't need to fret. They can do it in January when they come back from break. They can export all their stuff to a zip file.
So I know we're up on time, but Derek, I'm able to stay on for a couple more minutes too. If you are as well, we can keep answering questions.
Sure. And again, whenever you hit friction, please give us feedback on Canny. We pay attention to that. And Patrick and I are really glad that you guys came and spent your evening with us. And for the people in Australia, your morning, thank you. Patrick, you want to say anything before we get off?
I just want to say, thank you all so much. We really appreciate all the hard work that you guys are doing. It's a big part of our mission to help make it easier and more fun for people to start coding and get into coding. I remember learning how to program for the first time in middle school and high school and like discovering the magic of it. So you guys are doing amazing things. And I know it's been a tough and challenging year with COVID and everything that's going on and us needing to shut down Classroom and migrate things over. So just want to reiterate that we want to make things like easy and smooth for you guys. Keep the feedback coming. If there's things that we can help you with, just let us know, and we'll try to be as fast and as responsive as we can be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Patrick, I was going to have one more question before I headed out. I think y'all kind of touched on it, or at least maybe someone put it back in the chat. I've been trying to figure out how to do Replit regex tests for, sad to admit, over a year now, and have still failed to figure out how to do regex tests in Replit. Is there any way y'all could make some tutorials on that and put on YouTube or something?
I really like that idea. And I'm not sure it'll end up on YouTube necessarily, but I can guarantee there will be something in our documentation. And we can add that. So yeah, I think, we can definitely get something out there for sure.
All right. I appreciate it.
There may even be something actually, like I'm just checking Replit/talk now too. And I wonder if there's anything in there. Sometimes I just go, there's like great community content. Regex tests. I mean, there's some tutorials just on like regex generally. But yeah, we can definitely get something together for using it with the new input-output testing.
Yes, I've learned some basic regex that I needed, but I don't know. I can't figure out how to make it work with Replit, and how to get it to actually test it. So
okay, cool. If you're trying things and it's like behaving unexpectedly, just email us too. Just email contact@Replit. Put urgent in the subject line, so it'll like catch our attention, and send some screenshots of what you're seeing. That'd be super helpful too.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. You have a great day. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining. And I will stay on too if anybody still has questions. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Have a fantastic day. And don't hesitate to reach out anytime.